Hello and welcome to Transcendental Waves. I'm Jeff Bailey.
And I'm Michael Burrows. Today, we're going to talk um, a little bit about the tree of knowledge. Why was the tree of knowledge put there? Why didn't God want us to eat it? Things like that. Now, you can go onto Google and YouTube and type in those same questions, and you will get all the same stuff you've been told your whole life from the Christian church. The Christian church and Christians are about the only people putting out information about this. There are other people who do put it out, but it's just so hard to find. Once you find out things, it's just no point in it usually. Like once you realize that something is make believe, like let's say you found out that Santa was make believe. Did you go tell all your friends that Santa was make believe? Maybe some people do, but a lot of people are told not to. And if you believe Santa's fake and all your friends believe Santa's real, I've seen it. Those kids are the outcasts. So it's the kind of the same with religion. When you grow up, there's a new Santa Claus. And as long as everyone around you is believing in it, then the game's fun and everybody can play. But if there's a player that doesn't want to play the same as you, who has found out that the rules to the game were made by man, that person doesn't want to play the game anymore. And he's shunned for it too. If you're a Christian, especially around here, and you're in a community of Christians, the last person you want your kids to see is a person who has found out that the whole story is a make believe myth.
I mean, yeah, the Garden of Eden, the tree of knowledge of good and evil, the tree of life. I mean, the tree of life is still a big part of Jewish tradition. Um, the tr- I don't know, when I think of the tree of knowledge in the Garden of Eden, first thing that comes to mind for me is our childhood of like Adam and Eve being the serpent, and then my awakening mind. The first thing that comes to mind is the Anunnaki, and really like some of the crazy ancient alien stories that are out there about. I mean, what what created us? They're is the Garden of Eden a real place? I mean, Mormons think it's somewhere in like Mississippi. The Gnostics believe that it's something that's like a place that's within you. The Sumerians believe it was like a concentration camp for the original humans. There's a bunch of different things, places where that predate Christianity, talking about a place
Where
that's
creation was.
where creation was, that was paradise, an Eden, but like a city of the gods. There's just it's a really cool story. And
And there's a lot more of the creation stories than just the one we've been told, right?
right,
And I didn't know that until I was about 30 years old.
and yeah, I definitely like it. Kind of, I guess the Santa Claus thing. Like in my younger years, I was doing some digging, but it was one of those things where it's just like they tell us that two things we're not supposed to talk about: politics and religion. And it's crazy to me. Like we're taught not to talk about these things, to not quote unquote hurt people's feelings or get into arguments. But it feels like we're told not to talk about these things to prevent progress, to prevent people from asking deeper questions. Really, which is like, to me, like the essence of the very beginning of the Bible. Like when you're talking about why are we not supposed to eat from this knowledge of good and evil, and
That's something, when I was a kid, that was a flag. That was a red flag. Like in Bible study, God didn't want you to eat the tree of knowledge. Like I always was wondering, like, why would God not want me to know right and wrong, or why would He not want me to know good and bad? That made no sense to me whatsoever. And then as I got a little older, like today, we looked at what the verse out of there, and it said man was put in the garden basically to maintain and landscape the garden. You know, to me, that just kind of sounds like we are a slave taking care of a garden for God. And he wanted us not only to be a slave, but a stupid, dumb slave. And if we can go back in history, we kept all the slaves stupid. So it seems like this one slave, this woman, was tempted by another animal. I'm not going to use the word Satan, not at all. Jews wouldn't use the word Satan. And this animal, convinced them to do it.
Well, I think even in the Bible, like the verses, like later the serpent gets turned into Satan, but I mean the it's an actual animal. They all get punished separately. The serpent is punished into like having to slither on the ground. Um, I don't know, man. Like I think that, to be honest, I think the Bible is symbolism for stories that have been told for thousands and thousands of years, probably even predating the Sumerians, which is like some of the earliest like that we have proof that are like telling these similar stories where we've got like the the creation story, the flood myth, like which I believe there is a flood story, but most of the cultures have myths surrounding an actual story,
Right, yeah.
which I think is a lot
Myths
of
can be based on truths.
it's yeah, I mean it's okay. So it's kind of how like Hollywood does these like based on a true story, but they change the names,
It is.
over dramatize it to get the point across, like to really emphasize the moral of the story. We do a little bit of magic in there and stuff like that. And I think a lot of these, I mean,
That's what these spiritual books are.
right, and the Garden of Eden, to me, like the whole like the Gnostic view about it being a like a place inside you to where Sophia, which is the divine feminine energy, wisdom, the knowledge of everything, combines with the demiurge, which is God, the creation force that puts all this stuff together, that is the flesh, but it also like creates sin, and because we have our fleshly desires and stuff like that, and like that's just where everything came together and created this universe we live in.
You know, and then well, why do you think God put it in there, that tree? If no one else was in that garden except for Adam and Eve, why would that tree even be in there? You think God just wanted to test his creatures? Just like if we
Yeah, I
did?
mean, I think that is like the what Christianity would argue is like, well, if there wasn't the ability to do something bad, then he wouldn't truly have given us free will. So like we have to have the ability to disobey.
And so it's almost like he knew we were going to do it. I think he set us up for failure. That's what we call it nowadays.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it would be like that. I mean, I just like I said,
I
I
mean,
think
if
these
God
are
is all knowing,
analogies to like, you know.
if God is all knowing, he created us in the image of them. He knew we were going to use our free will. And so he put the tree in there just so we could use it and then kick us out. I mean, that sounds like an asshole to me.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, I agree with that. That like if you look at it that way, that is exactly how it feels. I mean, the Bible like the Bible verse talks about like let us create them in our image. There's a lot of plural words in there, and then like I mean,
I never caught on to that when I was a kid.
me either. I don't pay, but I think the whole like the King James version, that basically like old English stuff, and then like the new international versions and stuff where they have translated it to be like modern English. I think a lot of those versions, and I haven't read every verse in every version of the Bible, but like I think a lot of those like versions take out certain words or use more modern words to make it seem like you don't pay attention to that stuff as much. It's just harder to pick out. But then like these people, when you watch these videos, when they're like reading it in the original Greek or Hebrew words, and they're like, "This is what this word means, and this is what
It's
this word."
not. It doesn't even look
No,
nothing like what
it
the Bible
feels like
says.
a very different Bible.
It
Like,
sure does.
and so like you understand why some of these like the ancient alien people because it's like, well, these words translated from this word, and then like they took this from this religion probably and took this one from this religion probably, and then when you go back to the furthest like traces of like that connect the dots that we have, like at Sumer, Babylon, the Mesopotamian, the Fertile Crescent. Like when you look at those regions, it's just like the alien thing where it's just like they're talking about planets that we didn't have technology to know about until over 1,000 years later, stuff like that. And it's just like I understand why there's a belief that we could have been created by aliens, like, and then like over time it became just God, like, or whatever, like, like I'm still like, to me, I know there is a divine energy and like whatever spark, soul, whatever you want to call it, inside all of us.
Oh yeah.
So like the whole like whether or not we were created by lizard people a few 100,000 years ago or not doesn't change that part at all to me. Like really,
Yeah, not at all.
like okay, so like that, it almost makes sense because of the way that I believe that a lot of the Abrahamic religions create like a slave mentality. Like if we were created by aliens to be a worker force in a like the Sumerian tablets basically have us as the Garden of Eden is quote unquote like an animal enclosure, and we were there to maintain the that little ecosystem basically for them. They're starting a new colony. They just got here, these sky people, and they're starting a new like a new world on this planet. And they used part of their DNA to create these people with the people that were already here, which is weird because in our Bible, like we're the only people when God creates Adam and Eve, but when they're kicked out of the Garden of Eden, they fear the people that live outside of the Garden of Eden. So our God obviously didn't create all the people on the planet, just
Adam and Eve.
the chosen people, Adam and Eve, who became, Israel eventually. But like, yeah, so like, there's this whole like it, the God in the Bible. Even if you use the Bible as a literal text, couldn't have been the creator of the entire universe because he just like, well, he skips from creating the entire universe, but he leaves out all these other peoples, these tribes that aren't Israel eventually, that Cain and Abel and Adam, like that are all,
So he alludes in the Bible, God alludes that there's other gods
and other people.
and other people. Absolutely.
So like he is the ruler
He
of
wouldn't need
a
to be a
group of,
jealous God if he was the only God, would he?
right.
It wouldn't even make sense to be jealous.
No, you wouldn't have to put that as your first commandment to rule, believe,
Because
don't
there
believe
wouldn't
in,
be others, right?
right. I mean, there's just like, there's a lot of things like that when we talk about like the tree of knowledge of good and evil. Like, what is that knowledge? And like they, I mean, some people like have argued that like Eve already knew what was good and bad before that, and it was basically like,
It's deeper than I think just what's good and bad.
right.
I think the tree of knowledge is almost knowing what God really is and knowing that, we are God too. That's probably what the tree of knowledge is.
Oh yeah, I mean, and even the Sumerian tablets like that. I mean, their version of Jesus is a lizard man named Inky who came to like save the people and tell them that like they have all the same power that they fear of from this Enlil guy, like, and and like they have to unlock it and do all this stuff, and it's like that was the knowledge that was set unto them. Like it wasn't even like a theirs wasn't eaten from a fruit. It was a they called the serpent of the forest or whatever came and talked to the wise woman and let her know the powers of all what I don't even know how to they
Isn't it
worded it.
crazy in all these other myths that predate Christianity, there's snakes in it too, you know?
I mean that's the thing. Like I don't know where these archetypes come from, but there are so many similarities, like the serpent. I mean, that it makes you wonder, like, how far back does this stuff go? And like, are some of these like ancient religions closer to the real story than what we've been given? I think like
Dude, we got to go get some real learning with hands-on some Native Americans because those guys have been on this continent for like 30,000 years and they ain't changed their religion unless missionaries got them to. But there's still
Well,
some.
that's the thing. Like that's what I'm saying. The whole like missionaries got them to change, but like we've been like the Graham Hancock talks about like we're a species of amnesia. I think that like we're coming into an age of awakening, but like
Yeah,
we have
dude.
been on the pendulum swing of darkness. We've
We
been
have been
diluting
we
and
have been in
diluting.
another dark age for
Yeah,
the past 100 years.
probably like 1,000 years even. Like I mean that's the thing. Like I think this is
Yeah.
like a like I think that like we are coming to a new way of living and seeing like religion and God, and for the like we've diluted it, and like by doing that we've lost so many powers that people have. Like in, I mean,
Yeah, dude. I've lost so many civil liberties just living in the Bible Belt.
yeah. I mean, I think that that's. I mean that's part of it. I mean, but I think it's even deeper than that. I mean, I
It's a
think
lot
people
deeper.
like. I mean, like all this stuff that like. I mean, growing up, I thought was silly, like astrology and like the whole like sound healing and crystal healing and all this stuff, and it's just like, you know, because people can take a pill and in 10 minutes feel something, like and like they don't necessarily feel the vibration of a crystal or whatever immediately. It's like all these like old wives' tales and stuff like that. It's like a
And there's no money in it.
right. Well, that's the thing. It's like you have to just like it's a way of life. It's not of like
Everything's about money these days. And nothing is getting you're not gonna find out about nothing unless you're getting advertised and that's some you're buying. Anything that's free knowledge that's free, guys, you have to go out and find. It's not gonna be shown to you accidentally pretty much.
no. A
You're,
lot of the stuff that we really need to know. I mean, you have to dig for. Most of the stuff that somebody's trying to sell you is probably a lie.
the only time you're gonna see stuff where people ain't trying to sell you shit is probably just watching this damn podcast. Hell, we ain't even got little things we're advertising yet.
No, guys, we don't like. That's the thing is like we're doing this not like not to maybe like make a lot of money. We're doing this to help change the world. We want to see people like unveil the wool from their eyes. Like I think that like we've been sold a story, and different leaders and different religions come along to use us as puppets. Like
And we are talking we talk this is coming out like more and more people are seeing it, understanding it, realizing it. It's more on YouTube, it's more on the internet, just all over. Gaia is a good source. There's so many books out there now, written by so many different authors about so many different topics. The best thing you can do is start reading some know your enemy books. Okay, so if you're a Christian and you're kind of interested in a little digging deeper, go read some books like Christianity Before Christ or the book your church don't want you to read. And some of these other books that go into the history that you've been told, and they show you that what you've been told is not true with real history.
oh yeah, like
It's crazy.
I mean, read stuff that is about other religions,
That too.
other types of government, other ways that people have lived like in the past. Like I mean, find out why we are where we are. Like and you won't like that's the thing. Like you see that like we've just been led down this road to where like I mean, we're guided and told to live in fear, and really like we have all the power. Like
God does not want you to live in fear. That was the stupidest thing church has ever told you.
yeah, like we are the power. We
And you are love. I mean, you are energy. What the hell are you afraid of?
we create the world around us, guys. And like the fact of the matter is that the vast majority of people have been led to like not liking each other by a very small percentage of people so they can live the life that we all have available to us. Like we could all create paradise on earth. And I know everybody wants to say like that's a utopist thing or a communist thing, but the fact of the matter is that like we've been lied to by a bunch of different people, and the church is just one of them.
The crazy thing is, old Christian people, they don't even want to try to build heaven on earth. They want to die and go see it. Like,
They want to die and go see it, but they're too afraid to die and go see it.
and
I feel
yeah,
like that way about a lot of people. Like I've heard a lot of like preaching to me since I've been doing this, and I guess like I would say what Sadhguru says: if you're so sure about heaven, then why are you still here?
hell
Like I
yeah.
mean that is like I mean
Y'all, once I found out that heaven ain't what we've been told and there is no hell, my life ain't never been happier, y'all. I don't live in that fear shit that the Bible and the fucking church has been
and
telling
it
me my
doesn't
whole
mean you
life.
just go out and just do crazy bad things.
I ain't done one bad thing since then.
Like like everybody thinks that like well if you don't believe in hell then like you wouldn't like you're
The,
just gonna
what do
be
you,
doing all these sins because you don't have anything to fear.
that's the stupidest thing, y'all. It is so dumb.
It's freeing to where you don't feel you're not you're not looking over your shoulder for punishment at all times. You can be free. Like
Yeah. You know, people want to do good things not only because they're scared of hell. That's actually should be the last reason people would want to do good things. I mean, if a guy doesn't want to do a good thing, telling him hell, that's why the shit's going crazy. Is because these people want to do bad things, and you tell them they go to hell, and they know that shit's fake. I don't give a fuck. And then you tell them, well, it's okay if you do all this bad shit. Don't give a fuck. Just say, hey, I believe in Jesus. Pour some water on your head, and you'll be fine. I mean, what would you expect with these crazy people? They're doing exactly what you set them up to do. You know, they don't have any personal responsibility.
I think that's it. Like I mean we talk about like I mean there is in
Christianity
religion
takes away all the
there
personal
is no
responsibility.
personal responsibility in Christianity, and that's where you get this like I have to have this higher power in order to be good because there's constantly this evil thing tempting me to be evil. And the fact of the matter is like the desires of the flesh are a natural thing. Like this body needs certain things to survive. And when you look at the material world around you, you're constantly observing and assessing, do I have what it takes to survive? Like within my grasp. So the world that is full of competition, war, famine, disease, we would obviously live in fear and hope to like have something greater than us. But like the like we've created roads. We've flown into space. We can create as much. We throw away enough food to feed the entire planet. Like we've succeeded. The only thing that we have failed in is
Coming
learning how to
together.
like do it together, learning how to become an interconnected group of people.
And unfortunately, I love Christians, but I don't. Christianity can't be the one to bring everybody together because it's the most divisive. With Islam, it's the two most divisive religions because you have to follow their dogma to go to heaven. They say, so therefore they exclude everyone else. It's the saddest, most heartbreaking thing. I feel bad.
That's the thing. I think that's why like the Christopher Hitchens, the Dawkins, the Sam Harris. Like when I first got into this, like I was reading those guys' books and was like, God's fake because like what you just said, like Christianity, Islam, they're the two biggest religions in the world. They're both Abrahamic religions. They're they're in the middle of almost every conflict we see in the world. Like I just like to me, it is a very like you have to be they have the most rules and the most like just the harshest punishment like when you look at like a lot of the eastern religions there's it's not about like crime and punishment type mentality. It's more of about like becoming at one and balancing with the environment and nature. Like Taoism is very much about becoming one with nature and like observing the laws of nature. And it's just like God is a very like fluid part of the environment. And like with the Abrahamic religions it's like you said this jealous divine overlord that basically just like tells everybody what they're going to do and when they're going to do it and how they're going to do it, and if you can't do that then you don't deserve to live. And like to me like that is not the essence of life or nature, like I
Or
mean
God.
or the true God.
It's just all the wars. Why are those wars even in the Bible in the Old Testament? You know, it's just like our God's better than your God. Bam, killed you all. Bam, killed you all. Bam, killed you all. Raped and pillaged you all. Like, okay, good. And then we running around calling this the history and foundation. That's sad.
Well, I mean, there's not, I mean, there may be some historical evidence for some of the battles in the Old Testament, but there are definite historic evidence of the Crusades and how Christianity spread since
Yeah.
Jesus. Like, and I mean, it was not through goodwill. It wasn't like they were just doing such a good thing and changing the world that everybody was just converting. They were an army.
They were killing people. They were burning everything, and they were forcing everyone to convert to Christianity. That is not free will. That any religion that would do that at any time, at its base and foundation was an evil motherfucker.
That's the thing, is it's based in like
The
way
only
it's
reason
spread
they're
is
not
evil.
still killing you right now is because they're not allowed to.
Well, I mean,
And
I would argue that in places where there's
Okay, never mind. Israel is still out there killing those Palestinians
Yeah.
like they fucking want to. Okay. In America, they ain't doing it because they ain't really allowed to.
yeah, outside of our
In most of the
view,
world.
they're doing this stuff like that, and that's the thing, is like religions that are spread that way to me are inherently evil, and that's what led me to like not want to believe in God. And it was I'm
You
just
just
trying.
didn't want to believe in that God.
Well, that was it. Like, I just couldn't believe in a tyrant or a warlord as the
As the
peaceful,
yeah.
merciful God I've been told about. And to me, like, I do believe in the like catching the spirit and feeling that light inside you shine and feeling like you want to do whatever you can to make humanity better. Like, I do believe that's a feeling that people get, and I think they tie it to cultural beliefs and see Jesus or Buddha or Krishna or whoever they see that tells them that they have to change their life and be a good person. I do believe in that
Well,
experience.
right. We call it the Holy Spirit. The Native Indians, they call it the Great Spirit. It's the same spirit, y'all. The Spirit of God. Anybody can get it. Any religion can impart it to you.
We just see it through different eyes because of the way we've been taught about it.
That's right. Different stories. It's different mythological stories based on some truths sprinkled in there. Well,
guys, it's been a good trip through the Garden of Eden today. Keep the transcendental waves going. We
Y'all,
love you. Like,
give us some
comment,
questions.
subscribe.
We hit a lot of stuff today. Give us a question.
Yep. See
Love
you
you.
guys.